Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Trading Secrets. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. For those of you who do not know, my name is Ali. I have over 20 years experience teaching accounting, economics, business and law. Through this channel I'll be providing some stock analysis and a quick update on the $1 Million Challenge. So if anybody's not aware of this is a journey of investment of $1,000 to a return of $1 million over a period of 3 years using a strategy called compound return investing. So the objective is try to get 201 trades, each to an average return of 3.5%. It's not 201 consecutive trades. We do take into account losses. So for further details about how to join us for less than $9 a month, information is available in the description below. In today's video, we're going to be looking at MMTLP, where Greg McCabe shares a new update, so stay tuned for that. We're also going to be looking at a #1 rated buy stock, which is having huge growth, revenue in excess of $7.1 billion, and potentially could be at a good buy price right now. So before we get started, let's have a look at what's happening in the market. So first of all, headline here from Reuters, we can see that Wall Street today is tumbling as yields jump, and in terms of one of the biggest stocks going down, we can see that is Verizon, which is going down quite significantly after earnings. From Market Watch, we can see here oil is on track for back-to-back gains from the China stimulus, and obviously as well as that we have the Middle East tensions, which are still ongoing. And in terms of the overall markets, we can see here US 30 is down 0.4%, the US tech is down 0.56%, S&P 500 is down 0.4%, and the small cap 2000 is also down 0.8%, so not a great week so far. Right, CD, where a number of which are rated at strong buy, so go ahead and check that out after you join in the Discord. So the with you today is SHOP. You may also know as Shopify. This is a company that helps clients grow in person with regard to e-commerce and retail world dominate, which we know is dominated by Amazon and Walmart. So the stock has recently doubled in terms of the technology sector. The last 2 years it's blown away comparing to the S&P 500. Since its 2015 IPO, the stock did crush Amazon in both periods, but it's now currently trading 50% below its all-time high. So that means in terms of the outlook, the growth for the future, we're looking at in terms of early on the days of 60% revenue were taking place, but not right now. Currently it's raised its prices in terms of 2023, but it is now having some significant growth, which is why it's on our list. So the gross payment volumes reached $41.1 billion, and this was 61% of the gross margin volumes which were processed versus 58% in the year previous. So again, good figures there. And if we have a look at the revenue, again, the revenue is projected to grow by 22% in 2024, 20% is 2025, and this is going to be surging from $7.1 billion in the previous year to a projected $10.3 billion. So huge growth in revenue there, and this is going to be a #1 rated buy stock in my opinion. And then if we have a look at now the long-term chart, is this now a time to buy the dip? Potentially. So the shares are up potentially 2,800% since the 2015 IPO. And again, if we compare Amazon's was 800%. So obviously this is now a stock that is showing some tremendous momentum. So it could break its early 2024 levels. And in terms of guidance and Q3 results, is very bullish. There was a stock split in mid-2022, and that allowed Shopify to gain more large swathe of investors, and we know Nvidia did that, and we know Tesla has done that, and currently trading around about $82 a share. So we're looking at $5 billion in cash or equivalents, $11.3 billion in total assets, compared to $2.2 billion in total liabilities. So very strong and healthy financials there. And then if we have a look at the overall statistics, and over the previous 12 months, the stock is up over 60%. And an important date I'm going to share with you for your diary, it's the next earnings. So these are expected November the 12th, 2024. So keep an eye out on that. I mean, I am expecting a run up in this stock. So tick symbol SHOP. MMTLP with regard to Greg McCabe, and what Jen Capella has stated here is with tagging in Scott and saying you lied with regard to MMTLP and the community about Greg McCabe. She has proof and she's been in contact with Greg McCabe, and Greg McCabe has responded. So she states here she asked McCabe directly whether or not he responded to the letter, and asked also with regard to Mark Basile and his interest, and they have been making a statement that the interest of Nextbridge do not align with them. So she's received the full response, and McCabe has responded to Scott within 2 hours, and she states here you repeatedly told the community McCabe won't answer anything in writing, but it looks like he has answered. And she goes on to say your actions and dishonesty show a calculated and attempt to deceive, mislead and divide the entire MMTLP community. In 2 separate replies, you stated that the evidence was clear to me and others several months ago that the SEC was dragging its feet and trying to destroy Nextbridge. You are only screwed if Nextbridge Hydrocarbons goes bankrupt. So first of all, she's saying these are actually 2 truthful statements made by Scott. So turning the community against Greg McCabe, that is not the answer. So I do agree with that, and I think because Greg McCabe is behind the scenes, he will have spoken to lawyers and he will not be able to share anything confidential. And then finally she goes on to say that his decisions are based on the benefits of all 65,000 shareholders. Both Mark Basile and Scott have tried to pressure McCabe into self-serving actions that could potentially harm the Nextbridge Hydrocarbons investor. McCabe has a fiduciary duty to all shareholders and will not act in the interest of a few. So let's now have a look at the emails that were shared. So this is an email to Greg from Jennifer. Sorry, this is a reply to Jennifer from Greg, and he states here basically Scott has told me loud and clear that he is not a man to be trusted. That's quite a bold statement, and he did respond to Scott's email October the 10th. The copy is below, and for Scott to post that I told him in a phone conversation that my interests were not aligned with Nextbridge Hydrocarbon shareholders is a bold-faced lie. So what he told him was actually the exact opposite. So Scott intentionally lied to the community. So that's a statement from Greg. And he states his response was 11 days ago, and he still considered Scott at that time an entertaining novelty act, and he wanted to help him so long as it didn't conflict with the best interests of all the shareholders. So ironically, Greg's interactions with Scott were followed virtually in terms of the same sequence of events that also occurred with Mark Basile. So obviously Mark's also reached out. They both asked for special favours that was for a singular benefit for them only, but could have potentially damaged all of the shareholders, including us. So he's rejected the self-serving request. Scott and Mark have both conducted themselves in a way that shows a complete disregard for the Nextbridge shareholders. In terms of Mark Basile, to be compromised will not be a big shock because he appears to be a serial ambulance chaser, and obviously an unsuccessful one. However, with regard to Scott, he is one of the disappointments, especially if he has been compromised. In terms of Scott's recent claims, he's not been responding for those requests. That is correct, and he will not be getting any more responses. So let's have a look at the copy of the email that was sent to Scott, and this is from Greg McCabe to Scott, and it states here, I'm a big fan of yours and thoroughly enjoy reading your filings. I take in issue with your inferences in the letter. I have a board of directors I must answer to, and more importantly, I have at least 65,000 shareholders, of which you are one. So your insinuation that the summation of my efforts is nothing more than making illusionary promises for the future is confirmation of how little you understand and and what I have done in terms of the shareholders since taking over as the unpaid CEO back in January. So he will call, he stated he will call Scott back, obviously after speaking with his attorneys. stated is some of the first words out of Greg McCabe's mouth last week on the phone last week were, "Is this call being recorded? I wasn't going to, and I didn't." So that's what Scott is saying. He's also saying his email response was canned PR stuff, probably drafted by lawyers, and McCabe never answered the hard questions. So this is what Scott is saying. He did more work in making sure that his shares got word out than he's done in 22 months. So that's what Scott is saying, and what Scott is sharing here in terms of the email. On the left hand side, he states here, "Mr. McCabe, I have been told that the SEC has issued a subpoena or subpoenas to you or deny." So obviously Greg is no longer corresponding with Scott, so he will not have got a reply to that. And finally, what Wolf has stated is, "Trust you, Scott, keep up the great work." And what Fitz OTC Stonks has stated here, "Scott's filed over 300 pages in terms of the court. You have zero evidence that he's compromised." John Berder, who is normally silent, chimed in to support Scott. So we have two opinions here as far as I'm concerned. One thing that I do disagree with Scott is going after the company and going after Greg McCabe. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that Scott is compromised with the nefarious actors. He is going after the nefarious actors, and I think if that leads to discovery, then that will be positive. But I think I would prefer him to go with the support of the company and with the support of the MMTLP shareholders. For finally, quick shout out to the previous week's weekly watch list if you would like to get the next one, as well as a copy of our daily stock alerts. Last week we had some tremendous successes with IONQ up 24.8%, still doing tremendously well. IREN up 16.7%. HIMS, again another stock featured on the channel, up over 10%. Rani RINA up over 49% on the Monday, and also up close to 6% on the week. So plus many more. And finally, thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned.